Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class, we will learn Tosfos Dibur Maschal, Hasam the Lavikar Shabbasu, Yuvitani, P'turi Tani. Let's begin by looking at the map of our Gemara, the flowchart of our Gemara, to see what part of the Gemara Tosfos will talk about. So we have here the second and final answer to our question: why does our Mishnah count 8 cases, and in Masechta Shavuos the Mishnah counts 4 cases, referring to Yetzias Shabbos? So that's the part of the Gemara Tosfos is focusing on. So the general outline of Tosfos is, in its final answer, the Gemara says that in our Mishnah we count 8 cases, because since it's the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, we count the Chayiv and Pater cases, and in Masechta Shavuos, the Mishnah only counts 4 cases, because since it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, it counts the Chayiv cases, but it does not count the Pater cases. Tosfos will explain that there's no need to answer the Gemara in Shavuos for counting 4 cases, and the whole question was only in our Mishnah counting 8 cases. Let's see that. So the Gemara answered, Hasam, the Hachad, the Iker Shabbasu, here that it's the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, it teaches the Chayiv and Pater. Hasam, the Lav Iker Shabbasu, over there where it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, Chayuvitani, P'turi Leitani, it teaches the Chayiv cases, but it doesn't teach the Pater cases. Says Tosfos, the Gemara didn't need to explain, the Gemara had no need to explain that by Shavuos it doesn't count the Pater cases because it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos. Because the reason, there's a much earlier reason, the reason the Mishnah Masechta Shavuos doesn't count the Pater cases is simply because that Mishnah doesn't count Pater cases for anything. Because the cases all need to be similar to Maris Nagayim, where it only counts Chayiv, so to the rest are only counting Chayiv cases. Even in regards to Shavuos, it speaks about Shavuos, Yedias HaTumah, Maris Nagayim, and Yetzias Shabbos. Even in regards to Shavuos, and it is Masechta Shavuos, it wouldn't count the Pater cases, even though it's the main place to discuss the topic of Shavuos. Because that Mishnah, Masechta Shavuos, is only counting Chayiv cases and not Pater cases. This really brings up a question now. That's why it's in red. So then why did the Tartzin say that the reason that over there it doesn't count the Pater cases is because it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos? So Tosfos explains, so why did he do it? Since he started off the answer saying that here where it's the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, he counts the Chayiv and Pater. So he finished off and said, whereas over there where it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, he counts the Chayiv and not the Pater. In other words, it only finished it off because it fits in the contrast. Here it's the main place, here it's not the main place, and it's also consistent. Here it talks about Chayiv and Pater, and there it only talks about Chayiv and not Pater. But the truth of the matter is that even what is the main topic over there, for example Shavuos, it doesn't count the Pater cases of that either. And with that we're done, where Tosfos now is explaining. We read words in our Gemara that told us that the reason why there it doesn't count the Pater cases is because it's not the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos. Tosfos comments on that those words of the Gemara are really unnecessary. So this brings up a question. So why did the Gemara say it? Tosfos says it only says it to finish off the sentence. Since it works together, it flows well. Now Tosfos leads to a side point, which is, because it's not on these words, that's why it's on the side. Now that we presented this information, Tosfos says the truth of the matter is that the original question in our Gemara is not what it might have seemed to be. When we began our Gemara, it would seem to be that the question was, how come here it counts 8 and there it counts 4? What does it seem the question's on? It seems the question's on Masechta Shavuos. Here it says at 8. How could the Mishnah Masechta Shavuos say that there's 4? However, Tosfos says that wasn't the question, because when the Tana looked at the two Mishnayos, when the Makshal looked at the two Mishnayos, the one who asked the question, and he noticed here there's 8 and here there's 4, he understood, oh, here there's 4, because we can't count these additional 4 that are mentioned in our Mishnah, since they're all Pater. And the Mishnah, as we said in Masechta Shavuos, doesn't count Pater cases. Rather, the question was, why does our Mishnah write the Pater cases? Let our Mishnah just say the Chayiv cases. Let the Gemara discuss the Pater cases possibly, but why does the Mishnah include the Pater cases? And the Gemara answers, the explanation to that is, because since it's the main place to discuss the topic of Shabbos, we're going to teach everything related to the Yetzias, the Chayiv and the Pater. So to summarize the Tosfos, it comes out that we never had a question on the Mishnah Masechta Shavuos only counting 4 cases. It was clear to us that it didn't count the extra 4, it didn't count 8, because those additional 4 are Pater, and the Mishnah Masechta Shavuos is only counting Chayiv. And therefore, there was no need for us to explain that Mishnah. And the only reason we did is because it went together. We were just contrasting. And since the contrast was consistent and flows well, we presented it.